G'day fellow grimmers, Sun and Steel here. Just thought I'd provide a bit of a update on devotions and some of the new content for B28. Mainly focusing on devotions and how they work. I suppose it's meant as a bit of a tutorial for those of you who haven't seen anything about the devotions yet on live streams or whatever. The devs gave us permission to stream once this current build went up, once this current version of B28 went up. So I'm going to do this video and post it up for you guys so you can get a bit of an idea of what's coming, and also for those who might find the new devotion system a bit confusing for whatever reason, there'll be a basic tutorial, which is how I'll start the stream at the moment. Alright, so we've got my Banff build. Probably one of my favourite builds. Those of you who know me will be familiar with this build. It's posted up on the forums. And that's based on being able to rapidly use the Shadow Strike skill line. By using cooldown reduction so that Shadow Strike goes off all the time, basically. I've got it down at the moment after it was nerfed. It's the cooldown reduction, the cooldown on Shadow Strike on this build is about 1.1 seconds. Once I had it down to about 8.7 or something like that, and at that rate it was almost continuous. Alright, so I've come out here because I may have already gotten this shrine. So now Crate has added shrines to the world, and the shrines are in various locations around the world. The first shrine you'll actually find inside the burial cave, so you can get to it right at the beginning of the game, which means you have access to one devotion point right at the beginning of the game, and they seem to be fairly well dispersed throughout the game, right up into Act 4. I think there's a few less in Act 4 than what you'll find in the other acts of the game. And one of the ones in Act 4 is actually quite difficult to rebuild. Because it requires some quest objects as well, which you have to find. Most of those shrines, this is an example of the shrine dedicated to one of the gods of Cairn. So upon discovering the shrine, you can click it. Obviously it lights up. Also shows up on your mini-map. There's that funny looking little dude with ears there. That guy there looks like a dude with ears. Right, so you can see when you're in the immediate vicinity of a shrine, it'll also show up there. So you mouse over it, it's highlighted, click on it, and here it shows you how you can restore it. In this case, it requires an aether crystal to be offered to it in order to restore it to working order. So you can see there, it's got aether crystal. So go to our inventory, find our aether crystals, pick it up, drop it in there, much the same as crafting, and hit the offer button, and behold, oh, fucking beautiful, look at that. So not only do I gain 1 devotion point for restoring a shrine, there's also a chance that I can pick up some items from there too, and in that case I had an epic item drop. So I believe all the shrines are the same in that way. Now once you've restored a shrine, you actually receive a devotion point, which is tantamount to another skill point for the extra layer of customization that Crate have incorporated into the character development. So we go to our character skill screen, and you can see we've got our standard character panels, skill panels, but then we also have a devotion panel now that's added, and this opens up a constellation map, which is actually scrollable. You can focus in or focus out, and it's also draggable because of the sheer size of it. There's that many constellations now. I'd say it's almost tantamount to comparable to the PoE skill web, or whatever you want to call it. So each one of these constellations is comprised of its key stars that indicate the constellation. It begins they all have a beginning star and an ending star. So in this one, in the light of Imperium, that'll be your first star. You click that, it offers you 15% elemental resistance, and bonus to all pets increases current elemental resistance by 10. So for you and your pets, you're getting a bonus of elemental resistance. And then you go to the second star, you've got fire damage and percentage damage to chthonics. You've got more resistance, elemental resistance, 30% vitality resistance, Aether and Chaos resistance for you and your pets, fire damage again, and 3% max all resistances, and then also a skill at the end of it. So if you finish this, if you spend your devotion points and fill up this whole constellation, and you come to the last star, it unlocks a skill that can then be bound to one of your active skills, either offensive or defensive. And as you can see, most of these active skills that they've given us on the devotion tree are percentage based, so they're weighted skills that have a chance of activating when you actually use the skill that it's bound to, which makes it interesting. I was hoping that there'd actually be less of the percentage chance and more of just an active skill that could also activate when you used your original skill that you bound it to, or maybe even modified the original skill in some way, versus how they've chosen to do it. It modifies your original skill by adding, in this case, it adds a chance, 20% chance when hit by a melee attack, while ever what skill you've got it bound to is active. And as a result, it gives you a bonus in fire damage and bonus damage against undead and chthonics, chance to confuse target, reduce target's armor. So if you actually click on that star once it's highlighted, you can see which skills you can actually bind it to. So it can be bound to any of these skills. which is handy. Like it can be bound to all of the aura type skills that are up 100% of the time, that you can toggle and have them up 100% of the time. And I believe there can only be one devotion skill bound to an existing skill at a time. So that means you have to juggle things around a bit, hence all these options. So if I had it bound to Death Chill Aura, which was up all the time, that 20% chance would be available to me all the time. If I only had it bound to Radiant Shield, which I have to activate, which is only up for 8 seconds, then it'd only have the 20% chance to activate while ever Radiant Shield was up, and so forth. Pneumatic Burst, you could bind it to that, and while ever Pneumatic Burst is active, you could have the 20% chance for Light of Imperium to activate as well. So that's quite interesting. You can see that it's not. I can't bind it to Mavian Sphere or the Reckless Power. So it's all very interesting. So this is their extra layer of not only customization or character buffing. So it's almost like the buffs that you get from your gear, but then it also adds another layer of skills as well. And plus, once this has actually been activated, you don't lose it by changing gear. It's bound to your character's skills. So here's another one, the Tree of Life. And this is obviously, as you can see, it's health based. Gives you some nice bonuses, and then also has another active skill that's on a percentage chance when you block. Gives you some serious, or some reasonable, I shouldn't say serious, it gives you some reasonable health regen in a radius around you, which could be quite handy. So there's no end to these. Not every one of them has the active skill at the end, as you can see here. Some of them are just purely statistic based. They also have, what I want to show you here too, is that they also have a constellation bonus, which gives you a number of affinity points. And those little symbols that are there with the affinity points, where it says complete constellation bonus, and it's got 2 and 3, and it's got a symbol before them, they actually coincide with your affinities over here. So you've got Ascendant, Chaos, Eldritch, Order, and Primordial. You can actually see that the constellations that are in those affinities will light up when you mouse over the affinity on this side in your affinity panel. So these points, when you complete this constellation, you will gain 2 of the Order affinity points, and what have we got? 3 of the Primordial affinity points. And they actually contribute to then being able to unlock other constellations. Because you can see there that with the Shield Maiden, you can't just access it straight away. You need 4 Order affinity points and 6 Primordial affinity points in order to unlock the Shield Maiden and begin to spend your devotion points in that constellation. So that's another layer that Crate has added to this to make this whole web of constellations and skill bonuses all mesh together, and obviously provide a way of advancement through the whole constellation setup. So this is your beginning point, the crossroads. You can click any one of these, and when you do, it'll actually unlock the next level of constellations that you can access from that crossroad area. So you notice I can toggle that away. I can also see what sort of affinities there are in that area just by mousing over it. So primarily, if you click that one, it'll give you ascendant affinities. It'll give you access down to the ascendant affinity areas. And you can see there it's giving me one ascendant affinity point, right, which means that I can then, any one of these that requires one ascendant affinity point, I can then spend my next devotion point in any one of these. So they've lit up for you so you can actually see which ones you're able to access straight away. So all the way down to the Wolverine pretty much. I can access the Wolverine or the Empty Throne or the Owl or the Harpy or the Hammer or the Anvil or the Shepherd's Crook or the Falcon. Right, so they're my immediate options once I've put a point in here, and I also gained 12 plus 12 offensive ability by spending that point there, and that counted as one completion, as a completed, gives me a constellation completion bonus of one ascendant affinity point. So you can see some of these constellations give you more than one affinity point when you complete them. Let's have a look. This guy here, he'll give you 2, and some of them will give you affinity points in more than one sort of affinity type. So this one's actually going to give you 2 in Chaos and 3 in Eldritch. So those points all add up and count toward unlocking some of the higher level ones. Now for my character, I want to unlock this, the Leviathan constellation, because it is it's probably the most useful, immediately useful and powerful constellation for my particular build. So you see it's based on cold damage, spirit, energy, cast speed, and frostburn, and some serious frostburn and cold damage once you get to the end of it, plus another frostburn and cold damage based attack that will have a chance, 15% chance of activating every time I use it on Shadow Strike. So I would bind it to Shadow Strike. I can use it on any of these other skills too, but I don't actually have them, so which is really handy. So if you want to see what sort of skills, if you're trying to theory craft your character, you can actually go to these active skills and click on them, and it'll actually give you a list of all of the skills that you can bind that active skill to. So out of all of those, I've got Shadow Strike, which is exactly what I want, and I can bind that skill to there, or to no skill. So it becomes your default attack basically. Or it becomes connected to your default attack. Alright, that'll give me a Whirlpool active skill that'll have a 15% chance of going off every attack. So some of these will be better. My feeling is that these are going to all basically be used, or used more so with skills that give you, like stun jacks that give you multiple attacks in one attack. So in one cast you're actually getting like 7 or 8 attacks from your initial kit, and then another 7 or 8 attacks from the secondary effect of the stun jacks going off. That was the real genius of that Stunjax build using lightning bolt. It had, if you could get up to about 20 or 30% chance of that lightning bolt going off, you could really do some damage, because you're throwing out, in every single attack, you're throwing out 8 opportunities for that 15 or, from that 20 or 30% chance to go off. So at least once or twice every fucking cast, you'd get a lightning bolt. And I feel that with all those affinity-based skills, devotion-based skills, the fact that they're all based on percentage chances means that people are going to gravitate, they're going to end up using them, and gravitate towards attacks that will give them multiple chances in every cast for these to go off. Well, I know I would, because that's the most efficient way to use them. And that's one reason why I really don't like the fact that they're all percentage based. If you're going to min-max or look for the most efficient way to access the power of these skills, it's going to narrow your choices of skills down, the ones that you're going to use, and the way you're actually going to set them up. I'd set it up with something like Panetti's replicating missile. It's got the fragmentation as well. That is then giving you multiple chances of these fucking skills being used, for every single cast that you make. And if you've got a lot of cast speed, you're going to see your devotion skills going off very frequently. Whereas if you're only using something like, even Shadow Strike, even though I've got it on a very short cooldown, I'm still basically only getting one attack, which means there's only one chance. There's only one chance of the skill activating every time I use Shadow Strike. And if you're on an even lower cooldown, or an even longer cooldown skill, if you've got it bound to that, you can have even less chance of seeing you're going to have less frequency of that chance coming up for the skill to activate. So I think by putting them all on percentage-based chance of activation, I think they've actually limited the way that people are going to use the devotion tree, which is a bit of a shame, because there's a fucking there's a lot of customization here. I mean, even if it's only in a minor way, there's still a lot of customization in this tree. The other thing you want to notice is that you've only got a maximum of 50 points that you can unlock. So in that way, they have limited, for each character, they have limited how far you can take your customization, which means you have to pick a fairly distinct path through the tree. You have to really sort of figure out where you want to go, how many affinity points you'll need to get there. So this is where I want to go. I need 18 ascendant points and 13 eldritch points. So that's quite a lot to gather. Right, so then I have to then figure out which of these, like the Falcon, that'll actually give me three ascendant and 3 eldritch. So I can use that to build up my affinity values here, so that I can finally unlock the Leviathan before I run out of, before I reach my cap of 50 devotion points. Well, I hope that makes sense. If you didn't understand that, go back and play it again, and just follow what I'm saying, because that's the basic concept of how they've set this game up. It's the mini game of the affinity points, and the juggling of devotion points with affinity points, and then choosing which constellations to take in order to reach your objectives, and how you want to build your character, what you finally want to unlock. So as a new player, or when you guys actually get hold of this, You're just going to have to spend some time studying, the higher level constellations, and seeing, where you eventually want to get to, and then working a distinct path there. Some of you may even say, oh, well, fuck it, I don't want one of these higher level constellations, it's going to cost me all these affinity points. I actually just want to build a character that's well rounded and stay within these lower constellations that will cost me very little affinity points, and unlocks 3 or 4 different, or 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 different constellations, the lesser ones, and use those values and bonuses and even the active skills in that manner. So, and that's the other thing you've got to look at too, is the active skills. Which active skills are going to work best for your build? Which active skills are going to complement or supplement your build? So this is a great thing about the affinity, the devotion tree and the constellations, is I don't have to necessarily take constellations that complement my build. I can actually go for constellations that supplement my build. Now, at the moment, my character's biggest downfall, or biggest weakness is defense. It uses offense and its high maneuverability basically as defense. If it happens to get trapped and it can't maneuver, it's pretty much fucked. I've got a couple of active skills that I can use quite effectively, but if all of those are on cooldown, I've got nothing else to fall back on. Level 50, my health is really low. You can see there it's only 4,400, and for a melee character that's constantly in the thick of it, that's pretty low, considering I don't have a very high DA or high armour. Like the armour that I'm using for this build is, like level fucking 20 or some shit, or level 15 armour, it's fuck all armour, and there's really there's no other sort of defence. It's a pretty raw build that way. So I could actually use the devotion system to supplement that lack of health. Well, I just clicked out there being stupid, and I've lost that point now. I wouldn't have actually put it there. I'd have put it on one of those that actually gives me some health. So you got there at the crossroads, you've got offensive, defensive, health, and offensive. So that's your basic options straight away. And I could have just grabbed 4% health straight up right there, and that would have unlocked this line of constellations up here. And the other thing you want to note is that you're not bound to. It's not like Path of Exile where you have to follow a path from the central point, from your starting point. Any of these constellations that's actually lit up, I can go to the first star and spend a point in once I get another devotion point. Alright, so I don't have to go to the Falcon. If I want, I can go over here and start with the Harpy, if that's the sort of stuff. So I've got pierce and cold damage, which is almost perfect for a Nightblade build, and a bit of offensive ability, magic. Look at that. So usually the bright star at the beginning is the first star, the beginning star. So the thing is though, that only gives me stats. If I wanted something with, say, an active skill, I wouldn't take any of those. I would have actually come up here and gone with the Tsunami, which gives me an active skill once I've unlocked it. So, which is also useful because I'm getting cold damage, frostburn damage, and cold damage, and then the Tsunami Wave, which is also giving me cold and weapon damage. And the other interesting thing about these active skills that you can unlock at the end of the constellation is that they level up. So they begin, the stats that you see there, you can see they've actually got an experience bar. So you need 30,000 experience points to get it up to the next level, and that'll actually level up off your character's experience. Not with how often you use the skill, but with just generally with your character gaining experience. Those experience points are also counted toward leveling up your devotion skills. So that in itself makes it another layer of customization. So as you use the skills, as you gain the skills and then assign them to one of your active skills or one of your toggled skills, once it's assigned, it'll start gaining experience and it'll become more powerful with the character. So they've done a pretty thorough job of it, giving you guys plenty of stuff to think about. I'm sure there's some of you that'll spend weeks just trying to theory craft all this shit. Theory craft different builds and ways that you can buff your existing builds using the devotion constellations. I mean, generally the colours are generally indicative of what sort of build they are too. You can see even the background colours in the sky there with the gases and the constellations give you an idea of what you're looking at, which sort of skill tree you're into, or affinity you're into. So basically the affinities represent the different gods and the different powers that are available in Grim Dawn. So it all ties in fairly well together. It's all fairly straightforward. There's not a lot of, it's not complicated in its concepts, but it is reasonably intricate in the way that it's been presented and with the options that it can give you. But I mean, generally speaking, most of what you're getting is just stat bonuses, like you'd get off your gear, but permanently assigned to your character once you choose them. And then with the added bonus, once again, like gear, of having a skill that's actually bindable to one of your attacks or one of your defences. I'd actually like to see, at this point, I'd like to say, because of what I stated earlier, I'd actually like to see Crate make some of these skills not based on percentage chances, but have them as a fixed skill that could activate every time you use it. Because of that one thing, that people will gravitate towards the skills that give them the most chance of seeing these things activate, especially people, the hardcore players or the theory crafting elements of the community who are looking for the most efficient way to play their characters, which Crate has obviously catered to. Some of the devs even play that way themselves, so they'll understand what I'm saying. And that maybe they've already considered it, and they've considered that element in the community may be small enough that it's probably not worth doing anything about it. But maybe they haven't. Maybe it's just something that it needs. Maybe they've given us this, and depending on the feedback, we might see changes. We might actually see some skills that have 100% chance of activating, so that it's not so much focused on getting your maximum bang for your buck, that you'll actually get plenty of bang for your buck with 100% activating skills. That would probably be the only thing that I would say at this point. And also how it seems to me that there's enough. Even with 50 devotion points and the affinity points that you gain by completing constellations, it seems to me that there'll be enough to be able to reach the outer edges and choose at least one or maybe even two of these major constellations. So for me, I'd actually come down here and I'd take that one and that one for this character, the Blind Sage and the Leviathan, because of the elemental damage that I'm able to gain. But then again, it may only be that I may only end up having enough affinity points to take one of these. But I believe that there will be enough affinity points available as you come down through here and pick constellations that suit your character, and also that give you the affinity completion bonuses that will allow you to unlock some of these more powerful constellations around the edges. I believe you'll at least be able to unlock one, maybe even two or three, depending on the sort of points that you require. The shrines is roughly, let's have a look. The number of shrines so far. There's roughly 20 shrines available so far from what I can see, and that isn't fully at the end of Act 4 yet either. We've received content to about halfway through Act 4, so basically the first half of Act 4. So there's about 20 shrines, so I'm guessing those shrines will appear again in the next difficulty level. So, you know, you probably, maybe some of them will disappear. The thing is, you may not hit every one of them with each playthrough either. You may not get every shrine in each playthrough. So, you know, they've capped it out at 50 and said that's as much as we're going to allow for each character, which I suppose is fair, because you just end up going round and round and round until you had, you know, 3/4 of the fucking sky filled in. And your character was a god himself, or herself, you know, depending on what you were doing. So this way, you're actually forced to think, which I know will be a fucking tragedy for some of you. You're actually forced to have a little bit of foresight, which I know is difficult for some of you, and to plan, have a little bit of a plan about how you're going to spend those points. That's probably the best advice I can give you, is to get to the map and look and see what you want to do, where you want to go, experiment a bit, and at the end of the day, just enjoy yourselves with this. But don't come crying and moaning because you fucked up your build and you've run out of devotion points. I mean, this game is obviously, with this layer of customization to the characters, you've got like 6 or 7 layers now of character customization in the game. Now, that's pretty insane. Now, that's not for the faint-hearted, man. Like, those of you who don't want to engage your brain, go and play fucking Diablo 3. You know, that's pretty straightforward, mate. I'm sure most of you can handle it. But for those of you who actually don't mind thinking and, who want to have a bit of fun with it, this extra layer of customization will certainly get your minds working, even if it's just to figure out the best way to use the options that are given to you here. I mean, just exploring the map in itself and seeing what's available and what's what, even just going around all of the active skills and seeing which active skills would be best for your builds, and then figuring out how to achieve, how to unlock those. That in itself will give most people enough enough mental stimulation, let alone figuring out all the intricacies of how you can put together the best build or the most efficient build, or get through the constellation map to your more powerful constellations with the least amount of expenditure of devotion points and that sort of thing. So there's quite a number of options here that will engage the inquiring mind, which I think is great. It actually marks this game now. This system will actually mark this game as more of a hardcore ARPG because of the amount of options now and the amount of thinking that people will have to do in order to make optimised builds, which is good, man. I'm glad that Crate has done this and actually provided another more depth for the hardcore audience that they have, which is not a minority, which is not really a minority part of their audience either. A couple of years ago now, it must be almost a year and a half, I think, maybe even more, I did a survey that's posted up that gave a comparison of game difficulties and asked people to vote on whether they wanted to see the current difficulty level or an example of a high difficulty level that I posted a video of. And the people who wanted to see the current difficulty level was about 43% or something, which would indicate that they're more of a casual or average player sort of group. The people who said that they wanted to see a higher difficulty level, like I'd shown, were about 37%. So there was only like 5 or 6% difference. So it showed that there was a large in the voting community, which also not only extended to the forum, but also Madeira put it out through their social media, so it extended as far as Crate's social media reached. There was a pretty high percentage of people who would probably be counted more towards the hardcore end of the scale as far as ARPG gamers go. Certainly a large enough percentage that they can't be ignored as such, and as a result I believe Crate took certain measures to accommodate those players as well, which I really appreciate. That was a real bonus to us, and really appreciate the effort that Crate has put in to actually accommodate, even though it's probably not without an authoritative server and an online gaming system. It's never going to be a competitive hardcore game. Still, there is a fairly large percentage of the community is hardcore oriented and enjoys the game for what it is, and obviously play to their own level of fidelity, which is great. And with this thing that they've given us here, it's marked this game as more of a hardcore ARPG. Whether that was their intention or not, I know that in the background I've had several discussions with Madeira where I've been asking for more difficulty or more hardcore orientation, and Madeira has actually resisted it because he doesn't want to narrow the game down into a very small sector of the community. So I don't believe that they deliberately set out to make the game hardcore oriented, although they have kept an old school philosophy. There's no doubt about that. I'm glad that they haven't made the game a casual friendly game. I mean, there are quality of life mechanics that they've added to the game to try and help, more casual players or, less dedicated players who may, for whatever reason, not have the time or inclination to invest a lot of effort into the game. But they also have catered for those who are more dedicated and who are willing to invest a lot of time and effort into the game. And, I think they've rewarded them with this skill system here. I think they've rewarded those players quite a bit. And also it's accessible enough too, don't get me wrong. It's, it'll take a little bit of thinking about, but most casual players will be able to figure it out and, build their characters. They might only go for builds where they unlock, a couple of these constellations here that are near the centre and, make a well-rounded character, and they'll be happy with that. They play through normal, might play through the next difficulty level, and they'll be happy with what they've achieved, and they might make 2 or 3 different characters and, spend maybe 100, 200 hours in the game, and they'll be happy with that. But then for people who are willing to go as far as spending 4,000 hours in the game, as some of us have and some of us are coming up to, there's that level of customization now that in the character development that'll actually promote that amount of time investment and reward, that level of time investment too. So it's really great to see. And I believe that this layer of customization has actually marked Grim Dawn as more of a hardcore oriented game. So you can see they've also given descriptions. There's some nice descriptions here of each constellation as well. So for those people who are into lore, just by mousing over the constellation without hitting any of the stars, you can also get some basic lore behind each constellation. Which also adds to your greater understanding of the lore behind the gods and the supernatural aspects of Cairn. And also where your powers actually originate from and what your affinity to those powers are. So in that much, you've been given a fair bit of content here to sink your teeth into from just about every aspect. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm sure once this reaches the general population, there'll be a lot of people who will, find plenty of things that could be changed or modified, or things that they don't like. But all in all, from what I've shown you and explained to you, I think you'll agree that you've really been given quite a boon to your playing experience with Grim Dawn by receiving the Devotion system. So just quickly too, you notice this tab can be closed if you want to get a clearer look at the sky as well. You've got if you don't want to use your mouse wheel to zoom, you've got that bound to something else. You can use these up here to zoom in and drag it around like that. So there's one little that'll come in at 100% on low health is your turtle shell, which gives you damage absorption. So that's pretty cool. Plus it gives you some useful constellation bonuses. Reasonably high for a low level constellation, So I just wanted to show you guys that. And also, I'll give you another quick look at another option you've got when unlocking with unlocking or restoring shrines. So you've got an offering you can make to restore the shrine, but then you also have some of the shrines will give you an option of cleansing them, which is pretty cool. Which means you don't necessarily need components or items to unlock some of these shrines. In some cases, like the shrine here, in the burial cave in Burridge outskirts, you don't have to make an offering, you just have to cleanse the area of the corrupting influences. Here we are, another ruined shrine, and by activating it, it's made a liar out of me. It wants me to offer aether crystals. In the previous build, this was actually a shrine that you could activate, that you could restore by cleansing the area. I'll have to see if I can find another one for you. Alright, so we'll go and spend that point. And I think still doesn't really give me what I want, does it? So you can undo that before you close the screen. It's the same as the other skill trees. Let's invest a point in the harpy and increase our pierce and cold damage, which will definitely help the shadow strike attack. There was one at Burridge Estates as well. So let's have a look here and see whether that one's still there. I don't remember where it is though. I think it might be better for me to come from the main cellar. Over here, is it in the courtyard here? It might be in the courtyard here actually. Yep, there it is. You can see this shrine's a little bit different to the other ones. Oh, we've still got that bug going. Yeah, that's cool. Oh, fuck yeah. shit so you can actually see what's going on. Alright, so this shrine looks a bit different to the other ones. It's a desecrated shrine, and you have to cleanse it by killing whatever's trapped within it. So you hit start, and that begins the spawning process. So once all the spawns are killed, the shrine will be restored. There you go, that was an easy one. There are some that have that'll almost guarantee you hero spawns. So that makes that quite interesting as well. Let's go, another devotion point. So the owl will give me frostburn damage. Elemental damage. And up my resistances there. Really something though that I could use something that give me some more health too, can't I? Self-regen and constitution. At the moment, keep on with this. There we go. I think there was one over here too, in the Twin Falls. I'm just going to check that out. I don't remember for sure, but I think it might have been further back it is. Others on another road. Can't remember now. Oh shit. That fucking guy. So you see what I mean without, if I get stuck in one spot, it doesn't take much for character to cop a pizzly. So here you go, there's another desecrated shrine. So you spawn 2 heroes here. Should make it fairly interesting. Now you've got a reflective guy. Oh! Oh, look at that! Oh, what? Oh, there you go. So, thus ends my video on devotions. Hope you have enjoyed that and found it interesting. I think there's enough information there to qualify it as a tutorial for the devotion system, and I'm sure if you guys watch it, some of you that have got questions about how it all works, if you watch it you should get enough information there to be able to figure it out. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy your devotion to Grim Dawn. Catch you later.